All right, and welcome to another show of Stay Tuned with Troy and Howie, and we definitely have a different guest on board this time around, unless you sing country music, Justin. But I'm going to assume you don't. But anyway, we're speaking with Justin Warriner. Who are you now? Would you be considered a professional fisherman, or how does that work in your business?
I mean, I'm a guide, so I don't know if a guide's considered a professional fisherman, but
okay,
I'm working my way up. I am professional, yeah.
There you go. But yeah, I mean, I would say if you have some pretty big names wanting to have you take them on a tour and do some fishing expeditions with them, I would imagine you know what you're doing.
I mean, I pretend like I know what I'm doing, but you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is definitely out of our, realm of what we normally interview, but Howie, we were getting stuck in this country music rut, and not that there's anything wrong with that, like we enjoy all the country music artists we talk to, but we're just trying to expand our horizons and have our guests, expand their, horizons a little bit too. So we really appreciate Justin jumping on with us here. And I kind of just touched base with him because I saw he had some Buffalo Bills players that he took out on some trips. And obviously I follow all the Bills Facebook stuff and all that kind of stuff. And I think his cousin shared it to the Bills Mafia page. And I just started following his fishing page, and I was pretty interested. And I'm watching him take these trips out and, pulling these big fish in. And I was like, man, this would be pretty cool. This is something we don't normally talk about. So it'd be interesting to have somebody on and get a totally different, viewpoint here. So here we go. So Justin, fishing always part of your life as a kid growing up? You just always loved fishing?
Yeah. So since I was 3 years old, I've been fishing. The first time I ever went fishing was with my dad. I actually used a Snoopy rod or a Mickey rod, and he took me steelhead fishing, and he never lets me live this down. It's the biggest steelhead I've yet to catch to date, and I was 3. I was using a Snoopy rod, and he always thought it was stuck, and all of a sudden the fish started jumping and going crazy, and he doesn't have the picture from it, which is upsetting. But I guess it was like a 32 to 34 inch steelhead.
Wow!
And then since then, I have wanted to go ever since. I go whenever I can. After work, before work, during work. I always fish.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned, this is not your full-time job?
Not yet. I am working my way to have it be my full-time job.
Okay. And what's that going to take for you to get to that?
Just a consistent customer base. I mean, once you get known and whatnot, and you get a following, it's a little, you can make that jump. But right now, I'm still growing to have that following.
Okay.
It's hard for me to just make that jump.
Okay.
Especially the way the gas prices are right now.
Right.
Get me started on
that's a whole other podcast. But hey, to help this guy get started and to have him be, a fish guide permanently with a full income off of this, you can find him on Instagram at just_fish_guide_service. Just look him up on Facebook, Justin Warriner Fishing. That's 2 R's in the middle there, so WARRINER. And on Twitter, you can find him at JWar Fishing with 2 R's in there. So yeah, look this guy up if you're in the Buffalo area, all the way over to Syracuse. You said, huh?
Sometimes, yep.
Yeah. So I mean, if you're up in that area and you're looking to go on a fish tour, what kind of stuff do you guys usually go out fishing for, Justin?
Right now, I'm fishing for smallmouth bass out of my bass boat, and then I guide in the streams for steelhead, brown trout, salmon, stuff like that. I can also guide for walleye and perch and whatnot.
Oh, so, very cool.
What's the secret to being a guide? Like, just you kind of know where the sweet spots are, or fish finders, Patience. Or what is it?
Patience.
And that's why I would not make a good fisherman, because I really, literally have zero patience. I would throw the line in the water. I mean, unless I have a lure, I guess, but I just don't have the patience, and that's probably why I've never caught anything of significance. Oh,
Oh.
we lost him for a second.
Yeah, we lost him for a second. I was just about ready to jump into him, rubbing elbows with some celebrities and stuff like that. So we'll get into that. But in the meantime, let me just push his stuff here again real quick. Justin Warriner Fishing on Facebook. It's Warriner, JWAR Fishing, the JWARR Fishing, FISHING on Twitter, and just_fish_guide_service on Instagram. So hey, we got him back.
I had no clue what happened. It just kind of
that's okay. You lost a little bit of connection.
Well, you actually sound better now, so that's good that you left and came back. So you actually sound clear.
I meant to do that.
Yeah, of course. I was going to say, too, well, I guess I'll let Troy finish his comment because he was going to ask you something before you.
Yeah, I was just going to say, obviously, as I explained there, how I came across you on Facebook was, through Bills Mafia pages, and you got to rub elbow with some of these guys that, you mentioned Gabe Davis you went on a tour with. You just had Jake Kummerow out on a tour this weekend. How do you get connected with these guys?
Well, it's a story of a blown bearing. So I was fishing. I was going down to the Small Boat Harbor, which is where I mainly launch from, and my trailer started making some weird noises and whatnot. So I looked in my mirror, and sure enough, my tire was moving back and forth.
Oh.
And I was almost to the launch, so I limped it to the launch. I get there, and my client, he had to cancel on me. He had something come up, and so I'm like, well, I'm stuck here now. I'm just gonna go fishing. So it's 6:30 in the morning. Nobody's up. I finally get a hold of my dad around 7:30, 8 o'clock, and so I get frustrated when I'm out there fishing just because the day is just a frustrating day. And I came back, and I pull up to the dock, and I'm sitting there putting my stuff away, and my buddy's talking to me, and he looks over at me. He says, "Hey, that's Gabe Davis fishing the rocks." I'm like, "There's no way Gabe Davis is over here fishing the rocks. There's no way." He's like, "Yeah, that's Gabe Davis." I'm like, "Oh, that's cool." He's like, "You should ask him to go fishing." I'm like, I'm not gonna bother him, So I put my stuff away. By this time, my dad is there, and I go up to my truck and my trailer, and we get everything apart, and he has to go get another part, and the auto store was busy or something. I don't know. It took him forever to get it. So I got bored and decided to go for a walk, and I ended up stepping up onto this rock, and I looked down, and Gabe Davis is standing there. So I just said, well, I'll just start a conversation with him. So I said, "Hey, how's the fishing going?" This and that. And then he said, pretty good. And then I told him what I do and what happened. And then he's like, "You want to go fishing?" And I said, "Sure." So I took him out fishing for a little bit. He was only out for like an hour the first time.
Yeah.
But the guy he was with caught a 6-pounder. And,
nice.
Yeah. So he caught a 6-pounder, and then he's like, that was pretty cool. A thunderstorm came in, so we had to get off the water. And then I gave him my card, and a couple days later, he texted me. He's like, "Hey, you want to go fishing next week?" I said, "Sure." So I took him fishing. And then every once in a while, I mean, I text him back and forth, but it's pretty neat. It's pretty neat. And then I took. So
you're like literally texting buddies now.
Sometimes, yeah. And then I took Spencer Brown out over the weekend, and
okay.
So
yeah, but Spencer Brown, he's a big boy.
he's a big dude. He's a big dude. So
yeah, he seems like the perfect guy that you'd like to go out in a fishing boat with, though, man. Because
he is.
I heard that guy can put him down too.
Yeah, I'm sure he can. But he's a good old country boy. So.
Yeah.
Oh, but, cool.
He showed up. He showed up in I call them dad shoes. The Nike Airs and whatnot.
Not the New Balances.
I had a hard time about that. What's that?
Not the New Balances.
No, they were the New Balances. So
That's perfect. And grass stains, right?
yep.
Of course.
Gene Jack, I asked him if he was ready to mow the grass, and he just kind of chuckled.
Oh, that's awesome. So that's got to be a little surreal to you, though, right?
It is. I mean, there's a fine line of being starstruck because I'm from Buffalo and I'm a huge Bills fan, and everyone always thinks wide right and this and that, but like being able to talk to somebody and just treat them as a person and not as an athlete is I think they get a lot of respect out of that.
Yeah, and I'm not from Buffalo, but I've kind of gathered a little bit of how that community is up there, and I heard it's not uncommon to bump into these players when you're out and about.
No, it's not. I mean, they're all over the place. So
yeah,
and they're awesome. They're awesome people.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, that's what I hear, and I hear even back in the heyday, when with the Super Bowl teams that were back there. Like I heard some of them guys were a little rough around the edges at first, maybe. But even somebody like Jim Kelly, who wanted nothing to do with being there when he first got drafted, you can't get the guy out of there now.
No, he's stuck here.
Yeah.
So it's just it's just something about that community up there. Just something a little off topic as we were talking about the community, and I just thought about this. Howie and I, Howie actually has another podcast that he does on mental health. It's called Mental Healthy, and he talked a little bit about the shootings that had gone on with the school shootings and up there in Buffalo and such. Was that kind of close to your area? Did you?
I was about 10 minutes away from me.
Okay.
15.
Yeah. How did that affect you at all?
I mean, it affected it's just weird because you don't think something that magnitude is going to happen in your backyard, especially somewhere like Buffalo. Like,
sure.
We are. I mean, we're called the good neighbor or family of good
City
neighbors.
Of good neighbors, yeah.
City of good neighbors for a reason. Is because everybody like if there's a snowstorm, we're out there. We're mowing or snow blowing our neighbors.
Helping everybody snow out, blow out. Yeah, yep.
And you just don't think of something like that happening in Buffalo. And when it happened, it was weird. I was actually in Disney when it happened. So
geez. Yeah, that was such a sad thing, and my heart breaks, and that's just terrible. But you just made me think of another thing. My first ever time I was up in Buffalo, it was December, I think, of 2002, and it was I don't know if you'll remember this or not, but it was the Bills were playing the Dolphins, and the snow poured in like crazy right around halftime, and it was probably middle of December, beginning of December, and the next morning we got up and there was probably about 2 feet on the ground. It was somewhere in that range. And there was a guy out in the hotel parking lot, and he was blowing people out and helping people get out. And he's like, "You're not Dolphins fans, are you?" We're like, "No." He's like, "All right, I'll help you guys get out."
Yeah.
Now, when you say 2002, Troy, my guess is Justin was how old in 2002?
I was 10.
See?
All right, there you go.
He remembers that. But yeah, go ahead, Howie. You take over. I was talking a little bit.
That's all good. Actually, I was going to ask you because you had mentioned something before we officially started recording. You've been asked some pretty interesting questions in the past. What was for lack of a better word, either the craziest or the dumbest question about fishing that you were ever asked in your lifetime?
I don't even know where to begin. I mean, I've been. I mean, it's mainly like just the basics, like the line, the reels, and stuff like that. I mean, the craziest question, I couldn't.
Does this hook go in the water?
Yeah. I mean, there's like, what do I do? And then you explain it to them. Or the best is when your clients don't listen to you, and it's really frustrating at first. But once you get to once you learn how to rephrase on what you're trying to tell them to do, or you show them what to do, or you start catching fish, and then they start gaining more trust in you. So it's kind of every day's putting together a puzzle. It's it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Another thing I wanted to bring up here, as I was mentioning, I was asking if you had any specials or anything you run. You said you do run specials occasionally, that type of thing. But I'm interested to hear what you're doing here with these. You said you were going to have a spot for 4 high school anglers to have a free trip?
Yeah, so high school angling has gotten really, really big between high school, college, and whatnot. The bass fishing has just started to has been growing every year. It gets bigger and bigger, and a lot of kids, I mean, their dads have no clue what to do. They think of bass fishing, and they're like, well, what's bass fishing? Well, they don't realize that, like, what it entails. Like, they don't know about the Elite Series or MLF or tournament fishing in general. So my goal is to work with kids, whether it be steelhead fishing, whether it be bass fishing, whether it be just fishing in general. I love working with kids. My mom owns a daycare, and I've always had kids around. So kids are just, you never know what's going to come out of the kids.
Right.
But I love to teach, and teaching kids to fish and teaching the kids how to fish properly is what I like to do, and to make them a better angler.
Maybe you can get to your high school and start a fishing club.
Oh, I actually did that. One of my mentors actually is he is a teacher at my high school, and he's the reason I'm in all this mess, because I started fishing and in high school, and started doing tournaments in high school, and since then I've always wanted to that's all I want to do is fish professionally. I want to be on the Bassmaster Elite Series. I want to walk across this classic stage. That's what I want to do. That's what I'm going to try to do.
Nice.
That is so cool. And so, I mean, you obviously you're not doing it full time yet, but that's what you want to ultimately do.
Right.
How do you plan to? I mean, obviously you got some inside connections already, with some athletes and such. But how do you want to promote yourself and get yourself out there? Otherwise, I know like the big thing now with everybody is, obviously social media, but like even TikTok is. I still am trying to figure out and put my hands on that and figure out how to work that. But
notice I didn't give you a TikTok handle.
Yeah, exactly. And in fact, we just started one just, not long ago, but honestly, I'm still learning it. I'm still trying to figure out like, why in the heck am I hashtagging this and that? And what the hell?
Yeah. The algorithms in social media are just crazy. Like, if you use one post, you're done for at least 2 weeks until you get it back up.
Yeah, exactly. And I want to I actually would love to take a class on that and try to figure out how that even works, if that's even a possibility. But are you looking to go that route? I'm debating on starting a YouTube channel with one of my good buddies. He's also a charter captain, and starting our own podcast to bring on other captains and whatnot, but we haven't really figured out what to do in order to do that. But yeah, I mean, any way that we get out there is we'll use it.
Yeah, any type of publicity is good publicity, right?
Heck
yeah.
Yeah, get your name out there. Yeah, and that's that's funny you said that, Howie. It's a little not really dealing with Justin here, but real quick. I'll notice sometimes when we post stuff, Howie, we'll get, thousands of views for something we'll post, and then we'll post something very similar, and we'll get
views.
17 views.
Yeah.
What the heck happened?
I don't get it. I just don't get it.
Yeah, I don't get it either. But so to the rookie fisherman, Justin, somebody wants to get involved in fishing. Where do you get them to start? What's a good starting point?
To hire a guide. That's the best starting point, because the guide's going to have the equipment, they're going to have the knowledge, you're going to have the know-how. You have a good guide when you hire the guide and the guide wants to teach you and not just push you on fish. They don't want to if you have a question of why is my bait above the weight, or to have a drop shot rig, or why are we doing this? Why is that happening over here? And why do you have a knot tied here instead of there, type of thing?
Mm-hmm. So if the guy takes the time to answer those questions and saying, why are you asking so many questions?
Right. Right. And then when you show them and you teach them and they get excited about that, and then they ask you more questions and you answer them. And then by the end of the day, they're not to my standard, but they're a lot better than they were when they came.
And what they're doing too is they're saying, hey, this Justin Warriner, he took me out fishing. He taught me a lot. You should go out with him sometime and see what he can teach you.
Right. Word of mouth is huge.
Yep. So yeah, that's really cool. So you're saying most guides will have equipment for you to use, kind of, if you've never really gone out before.
Right. Yep.
Okay. So, because that's another thing. Like, you know, you even said like dads don't know where to start to take their kids fishing or that type of thing. And I've had my kids ask me a few times, like, let's go fishing, and I'm like, I don't really want to put hundreds of dollars into equipment to take my kids out fishing one time, and they don't like it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Well, you know what? How much should someone who is brand new to fishing spend to get started?
To spend? You can spend as much as you want or as little as you want.
Okay. So as long as you have a rod and a reel and a hook and bait, you're good.
Right. I mean, you need the right rod and you need the right reel and you need the right line. But if you have the right equipment, I mean, you could do the same thing with a $20 Shakespeare rod as you can do with a $340 drop shot rod type of thing.
Yeah,
Okay.
It's all at that point. Once you start getting into all the money, it's like about feel and what you like and what you prefer and feeling the fish hit, like that type of stuff, right?
Yep. Because there's some rods. I mean, the sensitivity is different on every single rod that you touch. But once you get to fish more, you could start feeling the sensitivity. You can start feeling the bottom more. You start to understand why we use this rod and not that rod type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But to start out, I mean, you don't need anything expensive.
Yeah.
I mean, I started out with a $25 Snoopy rod when I was 3.
That's true. It's true. And you're catching fish then, right?
You caught a 33-inch steelhead with it.
Yeah.
So when you're going out fishing and you're going out for a small bass or we just lost him for a second, but I was just going to ask him about what type of bait he's going to use. But yeah, I don't know. I find it interesting on like what goes on in the head of someone that is truly passionate about their sport.
And that was something I had brought up like legitimately, because I have had my kids ask me like, "Hey, Dad, let's go out and try to go fishing." And I'm like, don't get me wrong, I'd love to take you guys fishing and do that kind of thing, but I don't have all this equipment, and I'm not going to spend all this money to take you guys out. Like, that just kind of seems a little silly, you know?
Right.
But yeah, Justin, go ahead. Howie was going to ask you something about.
Oh yeah, I was just going to say, like, when you go out fishing for smallmouth bass, and like, what is your thought process? Like, you know what? I don't think he likes smallmouth bass.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
Yeah, we lost Justin again, but he'll be back shortly. What's that?
Maybe he just doesn't like your questions.
That's what I'm wondering. I'm going to call him out on it when he comes back. I'm just going to tell him like it is. So
yeah, it's okay. I mean, he's dealing obviously with a little bit of a technical difficulty here. So let me take the time here to push him again real quick. We got Justin Warriner Fishing on Facebook, JWAR Fishing, JWARR Fishing on Twitter, just_fish_guide_service on Instagram. Check him out. Give him a like. Give him a follow. Check him out when he's going out on these tours and see what they're pulling in. These nice fish they're pulling in. Get a hold of him. Message him on Facebook or message him on Twitter or Instagram. Set up a trip if you're up in the upstate New York area. You know, he goes all the way from the Buffalo area all the way over to Syracuse. You know, if the price is right, I guess. So
you know what, Troy? I'd like to ask you this question.
What's that?
You were driving down a back road outside of Buffalo, and all of a sudden you saw on the rock Josh Allen fishing.
Yeah.
How giddy would you become as a obviously huge Buffalo Bills fan?
I mean, it'd be really tough to control. To control your. I don't even know what you want to say. Your excitement, I guess, to see somebody that you're a big fan of. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it'd be really cool. But you just got to try to remember that they're just a person, and try to have a normal conversation. Because even us starting this podcast here, obviously some of these people we're talking to are bigger stars than us, right? And you just got to remember they're people. Talk to them like people. Have a conversation. That's everybody's the same when it boils down to taking out their social status. Or, the money in their pockets, that type of thing. So, Yeah, Justin just messaged me here. He said he's having a little bit of a time getting back on here, so he's going to restart his phone to jump back on.
Okay.
So,
cool.
Yeah, that's okay. We'll wait for him to come back here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm curious too to see some of his answers as far as you were going to ask. How he determines what bait he's going to use, but also how he determines what bait he's going to use, not just for that day or such, but what type of fish. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of thought that goes into it. Like, what's the best time of day? What's the best kind of bait? Is there a certain kind of bait, the certain time of year that you use, or whatever it may be? It is interesting. I mean, anybody who's passionate about their sport or about their livelihood, obviously puts a lot of thought into it.
Oh yeah, of course.
I mean, it's like it's like the average person sitting down and watching a game of baseball and saying, "This is too boring." And then I would imagine for him, he could sit down and watch on ESPN fishing professional fishing all day long.
Yeah, I would imagine.
And he would be like totally into it, where I probably wouldn't,
Hey, speaking of baseball real quick, Howie, as we record this on June 2nd, just saw that your Pirates swept the Dodgers.
I know. That was sweet. Well, you know why? Because the Dodgers introduced a new hot dog, and it has fries and meat on top of it. And the folks at Permane Brothers were like, you know what? This is what you get when you try to copy our sandwiches.
Is that what happened?
That's what they said.
Hey, Justin's back. Justin Warriner fishing. Had a little bit of a problem there.
I don't know. My phone keeps kicking me off. I don't understand it.
Well, we thought it was just every time Howie would ask you a question, you'd have a problem. So,
is it because I'm a Steelers fan, Justin?
It's gotta be.
I can take a hint. All right. So
go ahead, Howie. Let's try this one more time.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you, Justin, like, when you go out fishing, whether it's with people or just by yourself, like, how much thought goes into not only like the time of day that you're going to go fishing, the kind of bait, what all goes on like with you when it comes to like, let's just say you're going out for smallmouth bass today. Like what goes into your thought process, and like, how am I going to catch the biggest, or what bait am I going to use? I mean, what is it that goes on?
Wind, weather, just weather in general. Wind and waves is massive on the Great Lakes. Great Lakes are nothing to frown like to play with. One day you could go out there, it'll be flat, calm, and it looks like glass, and then the next day you go out there and there's just 3 to 6 footers, and
jeez.
So you have to know when to go and have a backup plan if you can't make it out into the big lake.
Okay.
The baits and stuff typically are the same. You have your drop shot, your Ned rig, tube, stuff like that, and then the fish are always moving. They're always changing. They don't have a set playbook. They're always. I mean, you're going against another animal. They always change.
They're trying to survive too, right?
That's right. They're gonna go where they're gonna go where the food is.
Interesting. So, how do you is there a way for you to tell where the food is for whatever reason, shape, or form?
Yeah, I mean, you got fish finders and you have the mapping, the contour maps and stuff like that have really come a long way. So you can really tell like what a bottom is rock and the bottom has sand and what bottom has mud and stuff like that.
Oh.
You can do it all on your fish finder.
Gotcha.
And do those bottoms that you're talking about there, does that usually help you find where a fish might be hanging? Because certain fish might like different bottoms.
Yeah. A lot of times you're gonna find smallmouth on like a hard rocky bottom.
Okay.
Interesting.
So
and then did you or did he? I had another conversation going on here, so I apologize. Did he answer like how he determines what bait he's going to use for a certain fish, or?
I mean, I don't think specifically, but like when it comes to smallmouth bass, like what is the best bait?
There's a whole bunch of them. It depends on whatever they're eating that day. I mean, I like to drop shot and I like to throw Ned rigs. So those are my two favorite baits out on the lake.
Okay.
Out on the lake.
And those are artificial baits, correct?
Yep. I only fish artificials as much as I can.
Okay.
If I have little kids out on the boat, then I tend to I'll use live bait just to keep them active and keep them going. But most of my fishing's all done artificially.
Okay. So why is that?
Yeah.
It's just the way I do things. I mean, so I like I said before, I like to teach. So it allows me to teach while I'm out there fishing with them.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. Like, to me, I was never really much. The only fishing I ever really did on a consistent basis up till I was probably about 20 years old was trout fishing. So that's all I really knew. And, we would use the typical night crawlers, or you use the mealworms, or,
right.
Or the what ended up coming out then, the power bait, I think they called it. Is that right?
Power bait. Yep.
Yeah. So those are the things that we would use. So you're pretty much all on the artificial trail, and that's, I guess that's interesting to me, because I guess that takes a little bit more skill though too, right?
It does. I mean, a fish is going to eat, and they're enticing to eat. It's just, one of the.
But they usually have like, I don't know, spinners or something on them, or something that catches the fish's eye, right? Like. Well,
yeah. I mean, you got to do the work. Like a drop shot, you gotta scent comes into play with drop shot, and then getting it right in front of the fish's face and moving your hand so the bait moves is one way to entice them to eat.
Interesting.
Yeah, that is really interesting. I mean, I was also saying, I think when you were when you kind of lost connection earlier too, it's interesting to talk to people no matter what their passion is, because you obviously have a passion for fishing. And are you the type of guy who can, like for me, I'm majorly I'm a big baseball fan, so I can sit down and watch baseball all day long and not be bored. Like, are you the same way when you're watching like ESPN fishing, professional fishing? Like, can you just like sit there all day and just watch it and like get some hints and tips from there?
Yeah, so Bassmaster has this thing called Bassmaster Live when their tournaments are.
Yeah.
And I've gotten in trouble once or twice for watching it at work while I'm supposed to be working.
Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty funny. Well, maybe they need to have it on when you're not working, Come on, guys.
They do. They have it on FS1.
There you go.
On the weekends. But when I'm at work Thursday and Friday, I mean, it's fair game. I'm on my phone and I'm watching. Don't ask me to do anything extra because it ain't getting done.
What would it take for a guy like you to qualify for something like that?
I was just going to ask that. Yeah.
You gotta fish the Bassmaster Opens. They have 3 divisions: the Northerns, the Southerns, and the Centrals. And then they take the top. It was the top 6 last year of each division, and then they take the top 3 in the, like, if you fish all of them.
Mm-hmm.
So
have you tried?
Not yet.
Oh, okay.
You gotta have a lot of money to start doing that. I'm working my way up.
So it probably helps have some sponsors and such.
Yeah.
I was just going to ask, can't you get a Buffalo Bill to sponsor you? I mean, if anybody's listening, hey, we've interviewed Marquez Sullivan, former Buffalo Bill. Yep. So, if there's any other Buffalo Bills that are listening, or anybody for that matter that wants to sponsor this guy, get him out there and introduce him to his passion and let him go out and get big time with us here.
Yeah. I'm hungry. I'm ready.
You're not going to argue?
No.
Hey, you just brought up something else there. That's pretty cool. You said I'm hungry, right? How much of this stuff that you fish, do you keep a lot of it to eat, or do you?
I don't keep any smallmouth. I just, like once you fish for smallmouth and you go out and you do it and you want to make it your profession and you don't want to There's nothing wrong with keeping them, but I just don't like to.
Gotcha. Okay. So, is there a fish you do prefer to eat?
Oh, I'll keep every single walleye I can.
Yeah?
And perch. They're delicious.
What's the best cooking method for those?
flour, salt, pepper, throw them in the fryer, call it a day.
There you go.
Nice.
There you go.
Nice. I mean, that's similar to what we did with trout when we would make ours. Very similar.
Yeah. Trout is
So,
pretty good too. I do keep 1 or 2 steelhead a year.
Okay. So bass, just the taste doesn't do it for you, or what is it?
No, it's just, I don't know. It's just like I
You
had
have a
one die in
connection
my
to 'em?
live well for a tournament, and I feel bad about it. I don't know. It's just a thing that we
There's a
do.
special place in your heart for them smallmouth.
Yeah. And the largemouth too. You can't forget about the largemouth. If it's a bass, I
So
got
when
a
you
special place
see,
for it.
so when you see Billy Bass on a plaque singing to you, does that bother you?
Sometimes.
Oh, that's funny. My gosh, I mean, I didn't know this guy had a connection to bass. That's interesting. It's interesting.
That's awesome.
Just underscore fish underscore guide underscore service on Instagram. Justin Warriner Fishing on Facebook. WARRINER, and JWAR Fishing on Twitter. JWARR Fishing on Twitter. So is that the best way for people to get a hold of you if they would be in the area and want to book something with you?
Yep, just comment on one of my posts or just send me a message. And I usually get back within an hour.
And I think that's a really cool thing that you're doing for the high school students too, by the way. So,
agreed.
Another thing I do for my steelhead trips is kids fish for free. So if they have a parent that comes out and the parent pays for themselves, but I don't charge them to fish for the kids.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So this is definitely something I can tell just by the way you're talking here. This is definitely something that you want the youth to keep going. You want the youth
is
to
the future.
Yeah,
the youth is the future. I mean, if we want to conserve, like the conservation is a big part of what fishing is all about. And
okay,
you got to teach your kids how to treat the waterway and treat the fish in order so they can teach their kids how to fish.
Gotcha.
That's awesome. Do you ever do any ocean fishing?
Every once in a great while. I mean, I've caught shark, I've caught stingray, I've caught drum and stuff like that. But I've never really caught, like, I want to catch mahi-mahi's one of on my bucket list, swordfish, marlin, all that fun stuff.
I was just going to say marlin. Those things look awesome pulling in. Yeah.
I don't know if I have
really
the upper strength to do that. I'm going to have like 6 or 7 other guys with me.
Yeah, my stepfather, he went out on a trip and they pulled in a marlin, and I think there was 6 of them in the boat, but about 4 of them were taking turns, like to reel this guy in. So yeah, it's quite a fight. That's crazy, but that's awesome. Like I'd like to do that too. I just don't know if I'd have the stomach, like to be on.
I mean,
go ahead.
It's not that bad. My buddy, my one friend, he can't stand the waves. He gets out there, he thinks about it, and he'll start throwing up.
Yeah. And when you go out in the lakes and stuff like that, you don't really notice it as much as far as seasickness?
I don't. Other people do, but I don't.
Okay. And how long are your trips usually lasting?
I have 3 or 4 different trips. I have an after work trip, so that goes from 5 until 9, and then I have a 3-hour trip and a 8-hour trip and a 6-hour trip.
Now you might be a little young for this, but I'd probably stay away from the 3-hour tours if I were you.
Yeah.
Do you know
Island thing there?
Gilligan Island.
Yeah. My old high school friend, his dad used to call me Gilligan because, believe it, before I started balding, I used to have really long hair and it used to be curly, so he used to call me Gilligan.
Yeah. Did you have the bucket hat too?
No.
That's awesome.
There you go.
Well, Justin, I really appreciate your time on this. This was really cool and informative. I've learned a lot. So I guess, one more thing I guess I want to ask you before closing this out is if you're looking for a fish guide and you don't happen to be in the Buffalo area to hook up with you, how would you go about finding just a fish guide that might be in your area? Like just go to a local bait shop maybe, or
local bait shop. There's an app fishingbooker.com is an
Okay.
awesome app. So what that does, I'm on that as well. So what you can do is you go on the app and then you look and it'll give you a list of guides that have availability and that will book within, like, let's say you came in from Pittsburgh tomorrow and you want to book a trip here. Well, it'll give you a list of guides and contact them. And then once you contact them, then you just go out you go out fishing with them.
So it's Fishing Booker? That's what the app's called?
Yeah, Fishing Booker.
Awesome. Okay.
So what if somebody from like let's just say like the Nashville area or whatever would call in and be like, hey, you know what? I would love to book this guy. He seems like a really cool dude. He's invested in children and such. Like if they wanted to book you and have you come down their way, would you actually make the trip if it was worth it?
If it was worth it for me, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. Excellent. Good to know.
How would that be to fish out of your normal areas, though? Would that take you a little while to adjust and figure out the sweet spots per se?
Yeah, it is. It can. In some, like Florida, fishing in Florida for their largemouth is way different than fishing up here for our largemouth. And the lakes are totally different down there than they are up here.
Interesting. Yeah, that's kind of what I figured. So I didn't know. That's probably why you try to like to stay in your area if possible, because you kind of know the nooks and crannies of the lakes, and you know when the water's high, when it's low, where it's good. Like,
right.
So it's nice to be familiar with your surroundings there. So, okay. So yeah, look this guy up if you have any questions. I'll go over your stuff here one more time. Just_fish_guide_service on Instagram, Justin Warriner Fishing on Facebook, and JWar Fishing on Twitter. So again, Justin, thanks for your time. Best of luck. We'll be in touch, and we'll let you know when this is going to drop. That's all I have, Howie.
Yeah. Again, thank you for coming on board and chatting with us. And yeah, once again, I appreciate the passion and the cool things you're doing for the children as well. So keep it up, buddy.
Best of luck.
Thanks.
Or should I say little buddy?
Little buddy.
Yeah,
Little
Gilligan.
buddy.
If you're going to be called Gilligan.
Oh, man.
Thank you, guys.
All right, buddy. Hey, thank you.
Justin.
Take care.
Take care, man.
Yep.
You
You too.